and welcome back to the AI Marketer's Playbook, where we cover actionable frameworks to help you leverage AI and marketing strategies in your business. I'm Audrey Chair, your host, and today I have with me Kuba Czubajewski, the founder of Story Angled. Now, Kuba has spent the last 7 years in B2B content marketing, working with over 40 companies, and now building a content-led growth system for B2B founders using a blend of AI and human methodology. Kuba has developed a method for building highly personalized AI content creation systems for lean B2B teams and has helped dozens of companies embed these assistants directly into their daily operations. Today, we'll dive into how you can use custom AI assistants to supercharge your content workflows and what it really takes to train them well. Kuba, we are excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Awesome. Now, Kuba, tell us a bit more about yourself, your background. How do you get started in perhaps marketing? And then when do you start integrating AI into your workflows?
Yeah, so I started in marketing in a very unpredictable way because it was a complete accident. I actually found a Facebook ad about content marketing course, some kind of content marketing course, and I got interested in that so much that I started to learn it and study it properly. I come from a very creative background. I grew up in theater. I was a child actor my whole life. So and I was after I finished high school, I wanted to do something creative with my life, and turned out content marketing is something just like that. And since then, I've been developing my skills. I've been learning so much about content, and started my own agency, which is Story Angled. And with AI is of course pretty new overall, but I started with it pretty quickly. I jumped on the AI train pretty fast. I wanted to see how it can improve the current operations, the content creative process, and from the very beginning, I was using it as a form of expanding my own thinking and expanding my own processes. And so far, it's been a very, very great journey.
Wow, I love that. Even for me, right, after integrating AI, it's really something that has supercharged my own business. I'm sure it has done the same for you and your clients. Now, tell us a bit more about B2B content marketing, because most people are familiar with marketing, but they don't really know how this applies in the B2B context. What is the difference between, B2B and B2C marketing?
Yeah, great question. The main difference, I would say, is that in B2B, you're not selling to just one person. B2C content marketing is simpler in that sense, not very simple, but simpler in a sense that you can create a very specific persona, target the content toward it, and that's it. With B2B, you are selling to a buying committee. So a couple of people within the company, decision makers, influencers, people who send stuff to their managers to check for them to check out. For the people who will be using the solutions that you provide. So for me, the biggest challenge is to develop a B2B content strategy that targets all of those personas and all of those people within the company, while maintaining a unified, image of the brand, and making sure that the messaging isn't all over the place. And that's also why I got excited about B2B content, and that's why I've spent most of my life, professional life, learning it and helping my clients with it, because it's a bigger challenge. It requires you to dive deeper into the psychology of the people that you will be seeing your content. You have to juggle a couple of more things for it to work properly. So I would say that for me, B2B content is the way that you can talk to not just one person, but a whole company in a compelling way for them to trust you and invest sometimes a lot of money into your product.
Yes, and I think it's also a longer sales cycle where you really have to take time to nurture them across multiple touch points versus a B2C customer who can just make a decision and click add to cart. Whereas in your B2B space, there's so many stakeholders to juggle, right? So maybe I can also ask, what would a typical process be like when it comes to that human approach? Then later we can talk about how you start thinking about the AI part of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the human approach starts with a very comprehensive process of understanding the audience and what they're actually thinking. So there is this conviction in B2B content that you can create one persona, you can just apply demographics, psychographics, some simple things, and just create content based on that. From my practice and from what I've learned, it's not really how it works. And the most important thing for me while building the human part of the content strategy is identifying those micro moments when people start thinking that they might need a solution, or they're experiencing a very specific problem in their professional life. So the way that I approach creating the strategy for my clients is to first uncover the deeper needs, deeper goals, frustrations, aspirations, things like that. This comes from professional stalking, honestly, which means just roaming around LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit, and reading through thousands of comments and posts to identify what actually makes people annoyed about their work, or what actually makes people worried, or what keeps them up at night, things like that. And then the second part of it, once we have all the things gathered, the second part of it is to build. You need to build a positioning of your product or your service in a way that immediately communicates that you're targeting at least a portion of those things that you discovered. So a big part of my work day to day is helping my clients clarify what they actually make happen for their customers. Not necessarily what they do, but what they make happen in their lives, so that they can feel like, okay, I need to talk to these guys because I feel like that is what I might need in the current moment.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed what you shared about positioning, right? I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of it. But for those listeners who may not know what it is, it's really, in simple terms, how you stand out in a crowded marketplace. So when somebody thinks of your product, they need to know, why should I say yes to even booking a website, hopping on a call, right? And for many clients, I'm sure you might have noticed, their products can do 100 different things. And you have to figure out what is that right, positioning for them. How do you navigate that with your clients?
Mm-hmm. The main thing is prioritizing the pains and prioritizing the biggest transformation. It's very individual, honestly. From product to product, I work with more technical B2B companies. To give you an example, my client from the business intelligence space, he creates business intelligence workflows and dashboards and things like that for those companies, for manufacturing companies, and those companies have. They need a very straightforward way of things being named about what David, my client, does, because the space is so complex, and many other competitors are just overcomplicating it already with their copy on their website, with their marketing messaging, with their posts. It's all technical jargon, and decision makers in those companies that David works with, they don't care about that jargon. They don't care about knowing all the fancy terms. So we needed to really simplify what actually David does for them, and what actually he helps them prevent, what tragedies in their companies he helps them avoid. So that's one thing. The other thing, the other client, for example, who is a SaaS MVP development company, we focus their marketing more on the dreams and aspirations side, and we position them around building the product, the dream product of their clients, without all the hassle that comes from working with development agencies, and development partners. It's so as you can see, you have to first identify what's not working usually in your competitive landscape. So what other companies do that don't really work, and the easiest way is to propose something that works around that, or kind of turns it around and shows your potential client, who has talked to tens at least of companies like yours, that you're doing things a little bit differently, that you're doing things in a way that is simpler, more accessible, and especially with busy B2B audiences, this approach works really well because they're short on time, they got plenty to do, they got, even though the sales cycle is long and the decision-making process is long, it's much easier to break through when you have a very clear way of telling them, hey, I will not put you in a position that this previous company tried to put you, so I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that, especially what you said about the competitors, right? So what are they not solving that you can solve? I like to tell my clients it's like a triangle: your competitors, your audience, and then yourself. So you need to find like that sweet spot between all three, and that's that real unlock. So tell us more maybe about the AI part of things. How does AI fit into this whole picture? Assuming that you need to tailor content to so many different stakeholders, where do companies even begin?
Yeah, so the main, once you have all that knowledge about the audience, once you have all that intel, it's much easier to start building AI content. So you cannot, there are no shortcuts to this. Even though AI seems like a fast solution to to the content problem, it is not. You have to do your homework first. You have to learn a lot about your audience, and then the way I do it is I create. Also, maybe before I tell you, one more thing that we do before building the agent is a short workshop where I try to understand the language that my clients want to use, the tone of voice. We analyze the competitive landscape as well to understand how people are reacting to different types of voices and approaches to content. So once we have that, you can start shaping the content agents, which should be very specific, should have very specific roles. So for our clients, we built a separate agent for LinkedIn content writing, editing, LinkedIn infographics, carousels, blog copy, website copy. All of those things are very, very specific roles that you train your agent to know and to recreate and amplify with your own knowledge. That's what is behind this human plus AI methodology. So deep knowledge about your customer, deep knowledge about their habits, about the niche, amplified by custom trained AI agents or assistants with a very strong human supervision. So we do not automate things aimlessly or just because we can. We still need to have a very tight control over the process to make sure that the content meets the quality. It makes things faster, it makes things more efficient, but it still needs lots of human input. And this will probably stay like that forever. The longer I observe this space, I believe this will stay like that forever because good content doesn't work in patterns. It doesn't work in repeatable, always the same templates that AI uses and AI knows because it's a predictive model. It's a statistical model. So it uses things that probably will be the best option here. And content doesn't work like that. Content is sometimes it's raw, sometimes it's unpredictable, sometimes it has to be very honest. For it to work properly and to resonate with people who are tired of all the repeatable AI slop that we see on social media lately. So that's why I think this methodology is the sweet spot, because you have something amplified. It makes things easier, but at the same time it keeps the human element of it, so we can keep the content original and feel like our client speaks directly to the ear of the stakeholder or the target audience.
Definitely. I think it's also interesting that you mentioned how AI tends to have certain patterns and it follows certain systems. I think actually if you are a copywriter, or at least you take a deeper dive at AI's copy, you would tend to see repeatable structures even in the same long form, which then makes you feel like, I think I just read this a few paragraphs ago. I noticed, this mini quirk that ChatGPT particularly has. I think it might get better, but it's true, right? Because if everybody's using AI as to create content, and if they're not doing that, adding that human touch, then that's where it can seem very flat across the board. Now, Kuba, tell us also about that AI agent that you're talking about. So you mentioned briefly on agents and assistants. Are you differentiating them? How does it work in your workflow?
I call most of the things that I create assistants, not agents, because agents, from the definition, they should be autonomous and they should have, deep processes integrated into them, so it works much more like an employee rather than just a bot that you ask specific questions to and it responds. I have a problem of the way that the two terms get mixed up together in the marketing space, in the AI space. Lots of creators call agents things that are not agents, which are just, you ask a question and it responds. This is not an agent. So I call them assistants mostly because it's at every step of the process. Some of the parts are automated, but at the same time, at every step of the process, the most meaningful steps are overviewed by humans. So we are far away from, or probably will never reach that point where you can just, type in to an agent, create me a week of content, and it will create a whole week of content, of impeccable, ready to post content. I bet someone who doesn't agree with me to challenge me on that, but I believe that we won't probably ever reach that point, and that's why I call my things that I create assistants.
It's interesting you said that, because a lot of people, they mix the two things up, right? Agents and assistants. So I personally have tried agents. I've also tried assistants. But I think, like what you mentioned, from a copywriter's point of view, sometimes the output that the agents give you is pretty flat. And you're like, I thought I specified the steps, to get there. But actually, if you use assistants in which you can control the steps a lot more, and then you can have that human in the loop a lot more, you tend to get higher quality output. Have you also noticed, like, when you use assistants, do they typically give you the same type of output? And if so, how do you make it unique to each client?
There are two parts to this. First of all, the assistants for each client, the assistant is taught, because it's prompted to do it that way, to find, every time it creates content, it should find fresh angles for the content. There is a huge prompt specifically for that, so it doesn't fall into this trap of recreating the same content again and again that it sees from in the knowledge base of the assistant. So we work around that using this, and for each of my clients, or maybe across my clients, this problem doesn't seem to exist, because each assistant has quite a different prompt. So we don't use the same prompt template for all my clients. Each prompt is highly personalized. It has a separate knowledge base. Each assistant has a separate knowledge base. It uses separate tools to extract the data from the vector stores and things like that. So we want to, we want each of our assistants to feel like a companion that just joined the company of my client and is learning more and more about what they do, is learning more and more of their style of content. And this helps me avoid what you just said, the fact that just a plug and play assistant that recreates the same kind of things. Again, it gets boring, it gets annoying, and you give up on it.
Yeah, I love that. Could you perhaps share a demo with us? I'm sure a lot of the listeners would be interested to see what this actually looks like and how it actually comes to life.
Of course. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the app. Maybe let me make my screen a little bit smaller so we can see it better. This is the app that we use for all of our assistants, and they are called agents. They're not really agents, but that's another topic. And as you can see, the 3 letters or 2 letters abbreviations here, it's the codes for my clients. Each client has a different assistants for LinkedIn editing, LinkedIn writing. I also have my own assistants for newsletters, etc., etc. So let me open one of them. So as you can see, we have here a long prompt, very long prompt. So it has, a lot of things to avoid, a lot of things. The structure of the post, some examples, a fabulous example and a weak example of content. What is the depth of the content? So how deep we should get in what we do. For example, the more technical clients need a little bit more depth in the content while maintaining it jargonless. So we have to level it out. It takes a little bit of testing. Tone of voice, writing style, about me and my business section, and what the assistant actually does. And then the knowledge section here is where I add all the knowledge about my previous posts, things that I wrote, things that I publish on my LinkedIn, and each of my client has a dedicated space within this software that includes their past posts. Let me share this with you. Their past posts, their website. This tool can also scrape your blog, and it's much easier for you to understand, to kind of gather everything together. So if you open my folder here, as you can see, this is a sample that I usually use on when showing things to clients. As you can see here, I have an example of my posts and post statistics in the CSV format to help the agent understand what posts perform better, what posts perform worse, and things like that. All of my clients have the same kind of folder. It's much more extensive, with much more data points, and it helps the agents each time the agent starts working or the assistant starts working. It scrapes all the data, it understands it, and then starts to write posts to make sure that it stays within the same realm that we've established for this particular client.
Wow, super powerful. And for listeners who may not be able to see the screen, is there a name for this platform, or is it something that you've built separately?
This platform is called Dust. Dust.tt. It's the website for it. I'm not associated with Dust in any way. I just like them. I like how they do things. And it's much easier for me to build those assistants within this software. I tried building custom GPTs. Custom GPTs are difficult to personalize as much because you can't have the system prompt changed. So you cannot change actually what the kind of overarching thing that ChatGPT does itself. At one point, you could do it using the OpenAI API platform, but they recently decided to sunset the the assistant's API, and they are using a different form of things, which is more technical, more complex to build. And I like Dust because I can share this with a client, they can use it themselves, and we all stay within the same software. It's all private, it's all specifically for them, so it's much easier for me to work with multiple clients using this software rather than build custom assistants for each of them.
Yeah, I love that. Something I realized when using ChatGPT custom assistants, it gets lazy. I don't know if you have noticed that, but after like the fifth response, it gets really lazy.
True. And a good way to, and this is something that also does. When the assistant gets lazy, I switch between while writing content. I switch between the content writer and the content editor. So let me maybe share my screen again to kind of show you.
That would be really cool.
Okay, so for example. Here's a content that I wrote today for one of my clients. So I asked it first to just write a couple of ideas for the content. Then I asked it to write a couple of posts. And first I specified what the post should be about. And then I asked the editor to give me a brutal feedback to the post above. So the switching between and the data that AI gives itself from those two assistants kind of prevents the AI from getting lazy, because the editor is designed to always push for more, always push for better. And this helps my the writer not to recreate the same type of post again and again, the same structure and things like that. So as you can see here, the no fluff feedback from the editor is quite extensive. It gives you a recommendation, what's the weak points, the strong points, and asks you to rewrite the post using the recommendations. And then the editor rewrites it. I ask the writer to write another post, and the process repeats itself.
That is so smart. I did not think of that, and that's a very brilliant move to get AI to critique itself, especially when you build two assistants for that. If you guys haven't tested, building custom assistants for writing, I would like to highly recommend that you have a keen eye on your work, because AI gets a little bit lazy, and then you would see it getting a bit more slipshod with its work, and then sometimes it produces content that goes off tangent. So that is something I've noticed, and then that's also why I think, like what Kuba you said, the human in the loop is so important, right?
Mm-hmm. True. You cannot shortcut it. Unfortunately, content is still a human job.
It's true. Now tell us also about that long form content. I think there is a lot of chatter about long form. And people also being worried about using AI to write long form, especially for in the B2B space. You probably need a lot of blogs and articles out there. What are your thoughts on using AI for that? And what should people look out for?
Mm-hmm. The main issue about long form content and AI is that if you have to work in parts, you have to break it down into steps. So if you ask ChatGPT, even if you send a brief for the article, a full beautiful brief for the article, and ask it to write it right away, it will not meet the word count. It will be very weak. It will have missing points. It will omit things because it works within that context window. Even the 5th version of ChatGPT does the same, or Claude or whatever. The way that we approach writing long form content is we break it down into parts. We work section by section. It uses the same assistant for the whole article, but we instead of asking it to write all of it at once, we develop the section. Then it goes through the editor. Once the section is developed, it goes to the editor. The writer is again improving it, And once the human overlooks it and reads the actual words that are put in on paper, makes the final human edits, adds examples from the client's data or examples from their Google Drive that our clients gather for us. And adds quotes and things like that, and then only we move on to the next section. So it's a little bit different, but maybe not really. Because if I would write all of this content by hand, I would probably do the same thing. Maybe the editing would be the second step after I wrote the whole article. But for me, right now it's important to work section by section and move to the next one only after you know that the AI did a good job developing it and turning it into something useful.
Definitely. Even for me, right? So when I craft landing pages, because I'm more of a conversion copywriter, if you tell AI like, hey, craft me a landing page, and you use a single prompt, 10 out of 10 times it's going to be a very flat piece of content. So even for me, like what you said, I break it down into steps. I have 7 different steps, like audience insights, competitor research, value proposition, tone of voice, structure and style. And only then when AI put it together, you get a really high quality output. And I think the mistake that most people make is they take AI content as is without, using that keen eye to look at it and review it. What are some mistakes that you see business owners making with AI content, Kuba? I would love to know from your perspective.
The main thing and the most dangerous thing business-wise is not fact-checking the content properly. There is a lot of trust in what AI does and what AI says among people who use it for content. And you always have to be skeptical. Just because the words look good together doesn't mean they mean anything. It's a huge risk if you decide to publish something that just sounds nice and it's a good mental model or a picture in your head, but then someone calls it out on your LinkedIn or on your wherever you post and says, okay, but that doesn't really make sense. I don't see it working like that within my industry. I don't see it working like that among my colleagues. That's the scary part of AI, and something that I always tell my clients to avoid. Never publish the first output. Always read it. Always think about it if that's something that actually happens, that you observe. The second part is probably not adjusting the content to your own personal style. It literally takes 5 minutes to read through the AI post and add your own quirks to it. Break up a few sentences. Instead of a rhetorical question plus a punchy answer, rewrite it into something a little bit different, a little bit more original. I know it's very, very nice of me to say as a writer, and it may sound easy to me, but if you practice it a little bit, to just stop for a second and think, okay, but how I would say that, how I can rewrite it so it fits the way I speak to my clients more. So that I think that's the most important part, to not lose your own human voice within all the AI content that you can create. And the third one, which is my absolute least favorite, I hate it with all my guts, is when ChatGPT proposes you a very fancy name for something that is happening to your clients. For example, let's say you write about a specific problem. Let's stay within with my client, within the data analytics and data management space, and it calls it the data Frankenstein. AI uses this figure of speech very often, and when you say on your LinkedIn, I call this data Frankenstein, you don't. You actually don't. And that's something that I always tell my clients to watch out for. Those fancy names for frameworks and things like that should always come from your practice. AI can help you name them, but it should be something original, something that you've developed. Describe your process, ask AI to find a fancy name for it, but not the other way around. Do not approach, claiming a term or something fancy from the place of because just AI told me to call it that, I will just call it that. Because then clients might reference things that you said, that AI wrote for you, that you never said, and you will not be able to tell what you meant, because you will forget that you said something like that in one LinkedIn post out of 1,000 that you publish, and that will seem insincere. So be honest and always approach it with more of a cautious eye for finding names for frameworks that you actually use, not necessarily just letting AI create a beautiful name for something that never happens.
Yes, absolutely. And I think maybe one thing I would add is, just because it sounds nice doesn't mean it makes sense. I've seen this happen way too many times. It sounds fancy. When you read it, it's like, oh, that sounds smart. But actually, when you read the sentences, there is no substance behind it.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is really good at writing fancy essays. That's all I can say about that.
True. That's also the part of the human part of human plus AI system. You always bring in substance. You don't have to be a beautiful writer. You don't have to be a talented writer to create great content nowadays, because AI will do it for you. But it won't bring the things that you actually do for your clients. It won't bring your own point of view. This is something that you need to do, and as easy as it seems, while using AI tools, you have to do some heavy lifting before you get any decent results.
Absolutely. So maybe for example, startup, founders who are listening to this podcast, or someone trying to start a B2B business, and they're like, you know what, Kuba, where should I begin? How do I get started? Do I need to be on all platforms? Am I going to be, searchable by ChatGPT? Who do I speak to? What do you recommend them?
Definitely do not try to post on all the platforms possible. You will burn out, you will get annoyed about posting content, and you will give up after a few weeks or if not days. So what I recommend to all my clients is to build a very simple demand generation system, inbound demand generation system, which basically means that you should you do all the heavy lifting work of the defining your audience and data. Second, you develop you pick one distribution channel, which is social media. What channel do you use to distribute your content, to spread your message across the web that you're doing what you're doing? Just one. It can be LinkedIn for B2B, usually is LinkedIn, but not always. Sometimes it's YouTube, sometimes it's TikTok. I worked with brands that work best if they work on TikTok. So pick one distribution channel, master it. And within this channel, once you have the distribution established, you should create a content mix. So the formats that you publish throughout the week in a way that two of them should offer value, something very practical, someone can implement right away. It builds trust, it builds momentum for your brand when you're useful. One of them should be social proof. So a very specific proof that what you're saying and describing in the value post is working. And one more personal, so something about your company or yourself that is more that kind of builds not only the value of your account, but also it brings people closer to you. It feels like for them, when they look at your personal post, they should feel like, okay, I want to work with this guy. He seems like a very nice guy or a girl. And one of them should be a direct ask for a micro action. And here, you should not ask your clients to book a call with you right away. No, nobody has time for that in B2B, in B2C as well. But what I also recommend to all my clients is to create a very small, very practical lead magnet or an entry level offer of some sorts that they can implement right away, that they can grab from your profile or your website quickly and very easily understand that this is what they are looking for and this is what your service addresses. So those micro action CTAs are very important to at least one of your posts should have this micro CTA included, because and when you see this, when you have all this system established, you walk your client through the entire buying process from the beginning to an end, from top to bottom, whatever you want to call it or visualize it. So value is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel is the proof, and bottom of the funnel is the micro CTA. And each week it repeats. So even if somebody didn't see the post, the micro CTA last week, they will see it this week or next week. And this builds this repeatable demand generation for B2B companies that I work with.
Awesome. I love the funnel approach. So if you are not thinking about content strategically, this is a great place to start. Think of your content as a funnel where you really have to nurture your audience. And if you're only going to be selling your product all the time, there is a high chance nobody is going to care as much. So you want to give a lot of value at the start just to open it up so that people will come into your funnel and better understand what you do and offer. With that, Kuba, that was such an incredible conversation. Now, where can people find you and who should reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn primarily by typing my name, Kuba Czubajewski. I know my last name is difficult, but yeah, I hope you'll manage. But also you can check out my YouTube, which is Content Kuba, where I post about content strategy. I post breakdowns of great small companies, B2B companies that are doing great content purely organically. So yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome. Content Kuba is such a cute name. I will check it out myself. Now, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Kuba, for joining us. And thank you, folks, for tuning in on the AI Marketers Playbook. And to our listeners, if you have enjoyed this conversation, share with a founder or a friend. See you in the next episode. Take care.